Welcome back, focused learners. Today we're jumping straight into an incredibly unique explainer. We are going to break down the structure of a deeply fascinating philosophical text that basically tries to map out the entire human condition. It's a remarkable piece of source material, honestly. We're talking about where we come from, how we spend our limited time, and the ultimate literal power of our own free will. Okay, let's dive into this. Right out of the gate, I want you to consider this quote. Everything vanishes like a flash. This right here is the foundational pulse of the text we're examining today. Before we even get into deconstructing massive cosmic themes or the daily games we play, the author wants to immediately ground us in the fleeting, almost instantaneous nature of our own lives. Just let that sit in your mind for a second as we keep going. Section 1. Creation and Evolution, Our Cosmic Origins. So the text brilliantly illustrates these two massive contrasting frameworks of human existence. On one hand, we have the spiritual lens, right? The human body framed as a perfection of divine love, rooted in the creation of God and the truth of cosmos. But then, right alongside that, the text presents the biological, scientific lens, survival of fittest, and the mutation of genes. It highlights that ultimate biological drive, stating, longer lifespan is my dream. The author completely impartially lays out the sheer scale of our philosophical foundation here, without telling you which side to pick. Section 2. The Flash of Existence, the Mortal Lifespan. Now, the text maps out the human journey in incredibly stark terms. We move from birth to youth and then marriage to death, and, well, that's it. That's the whole sequence. By organizing human life into these rigid, inevitable stages, the author is really hammering home that repeating concept we started with. This entire sweeping span of a life, it literally vanishes in a flash. And what occupies the space between those major life events? According to the text, it basically boils down to two things: time and money. I really want you to reflect on that for a moment. The source material directly pairs the phrase time and money with that journey from birth to youth and marriage to death. These are essentially the twin currencies that absolutely dominate the brief spaces between our major life milestones. Section 3. The Games We Play, Earthly Pursuits. Here, the text catalogs our daily distractions. It lists things like games of sports, exercise and work, and dreams and success. These are the actions that fill up our little flash of existence. But what's really interesting about this is that last pursuit it mentions. My knowledge is best. The author masterfully slips human ego right into the middle of our daily routines, holding on to that prideful belief that our own knowledge is somehow superior. With all those earthly distractions established, the text does a pivot. It moves from external actions to internal reflection. It states, acting is reacting, and suggests that the script needs to change. It asks us to look at the track we're currently on and poses a really profound conditional statement. If salvation is my future, then the message is true. This is where our explainer shifts from merely looking at how we live to asking why we live the way we do, and whether our internal scripts need a total rewrite. Section 4. The Nature of Choice, Free Will versus Destiny. Let's see how this builds. The text suggests that the mind has a spirit that is controlled by God, but paradoxically, it's still given a choice to learn the lessons. Now, right up against that grand spiritual framework, the author places a super blunt, incredibly relatable human reaction. I don't like others to control. We have this spiritual curriculum constantly battling against our innate, stubborn resistance to being controlled by anyone outside of ourselves. And the text actually takes this resistance a step further with a really surprising warning. It states that simply, an active observation ultimately takes away my time. And even more striking, the author writes, there is no persecution, but it destroys the mind. The implication here is absolutely fascinating. Just the feeling of being watched, observed, or controlled by others, even if there's no active persecution going on, is enough to drain our most precious resource of time and actively destroy our peace of mind. So the crucial point is, I just want to pause and let this profound quote sink in. My destiny is erased by the nature of choice. Regardless of the cosmic creation or biological mutations we started with, our path is not fixed. The sheer power of human agency, the very nature of choice, is posited to be strong enough to completely wipe your destiny clean. Section 5. The Mind as a Mirror, the Final Refrain. In the source text, right before we get to the final conclusion, the author cyclically returns us back here. we are reminded of that time and money loop, the birth to youth and marriage to death cycle. By repeating this, the text emphasizes that no matter how much we sit around and philosophize about destiny or cosmic truths, the unrelenting wheel of time just keeps turning, vanishing in a flash. But amidst all of that, the time, the money, the biology, the ego, what is the mind actually doing? Here the text introduces its core hypnotic refrain. The mind is a mirror, it reflects. The author intentionally repeats this line over and over. The mind is a mirror, it reflects. It's a brilliant way to emphasize that the mind is fundamentally a neutral surface. It's just going to reflect whatever we, through the nature of our choices, decide to place in front of it. Will it reflect the perfection of divine love? Or is it going to reflect the ego of my knowledge is best? The mind is a mirror, it reflects. This is the final meditative crescendo of the source material. It strips away all the games, the sports, the work, the success, literally the whole shebang, leaving us with nothing but our own consciousness staring back at itself. And that brings us to our conclusion. Based entirely on the structure and wisdom of the text we've just explored, I want to leave you with a challenge. If everything you do from birth to death truly vanishes like a flash, and your destiny is completely erased by your own choices, what is your mirror reflecting right now? Think about that. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and we'll catch you next time.